Let's look at Trump's natal chart, but also his upcoming transits for right now, as well as into the election and the inauguration. Natally, Trump has Chiron in the third house. And for me, when I look at Chiron in the third, it's like I almost think there could be, obviously there's an energy with Trump with his communication and it being very jarring to a lot of people. Not everybody embraces his communication, but a lot of people like it. So with Chiron in the third, I feel like there can be wounding around communication, wounding around education, wounding around just the basic decency of how to like communicate. Interesting enough, he does have Mercury, Venus, and Saturn all in the 12th house natally. I find this interesting because Biden also has a lot of planets in the 12th house, including Mercury. So they both just kind of they have this rambling energy, and I can even speak for having Mercury in Pisces. I can do that too. So I think a lot of times when people with Mercury in the 12th house are talking, they're actually channeling energy, and it can be kind of confusing and disorienting for not only the person who's talking, but also the people who are listening. Trump also has Mars in the first house, which is interesting to me because I have like a little hair right there that I don't want on my hat. Megan Fox actually has Mars right on the ascendant as well. So the way it comes out for her is much more like a sex symbol type energy, but Mars is aggression and it's like agitation, and it's like no matter what, it's going to bump up against whatever it touches. So when it's close to the first house, the ascendant, I feel like that really embodies somebody who's like a I don't give a F energy. And it can be kind of intoxicating. Like even off topic, but even Megan Fox has been like said to be very difficult to work with. You know, I love Megan Fox personally, but Steven Spielberg kind of canceled her in Hollywood and said she was extremely difficult to work with. So, you know, it can be good for pushing forward and kind of like getting what you want, but you don't make a lot of friends along the way, I wouldn't say. House for me is kind of like his hardest learned lessons come from his own self-undoing. So I feel like Trump is the kind of person that can really put himself in a lot of dire situations or associations that can actually become a great part of his demise. And you've kind of seen that with his associations and his friends and the people that he's worked with, and then all of a sudden they're enemies and they tell all his secrets. So that's very telling of Saturn in the 12th house. It's like you can't trust the people behind the scenes, and your hardest learned lessons are going to come from enemies and people that do you kind of dirty, because the 12th house is the house of Pisces and it's the house of self-undoing. So sometimes what we do to ourselves can be our greatest ailment in life. Okay, lastly, this was the most this is what stood out to me when I looked at Trump's natal chart. He has Pluto in the first house, and wow, like I actually know someone personally who has Pluto in the first house, and like that person has lived so many different lives. Like I feel like Pluto in the first house means you're gonna have multiple like personalities and lives. It's like it's very much like having to start your life over so many times in life, because Pluto again is the great transformer. It whatever it touches, it transforms and it molds into almost like a phoenix rising type energy. But before that, it has to hit, you know, the rock bottom, and sometimes there's a trap door at the rock bottom. When I saw Pluto in the first house, I was like, wow. I was like, Pluto in the first house, like after knowing the person that I know with Pluto in the first house, just watching that person's life like unravel, I feel like when you have Pluto in the first house, it's almost a guarantee that life is going to hit you with the 2x4, but that doesn't mean that you can't regenerate yourself. You know, I feel like the people that love Trump are gonna obviously continue to have that energy towards him. He almost has like a can do no wrong type energy. So the other thing I'll say too is with Venus in the 12th house, it doesn't surprise me that he's had a lot of clandestine relationships, and like, I mean, he's cheated on almost every wife he's had, or every wife he's had. I actually feel like he's going to get divorced and that his lawyer is going to be his next new wife. I just get that feeling. But yeah, I mean, he has kind of an intense birth chart. His North Node is in Gemini in the 11th house, which means like his friend groups and like his associations are kind of what he came into this lifetime to represent and be. And that North Node is in Gemini, so he is quite, like, he has the gift of gab. He's very good at talking, and he's very good at entertaining. I mean, he has a Leo rising, and he's a Gemini sun, and his moon is in Sagittarius, which is kind of like a freedom-oriented placement. Like, these people want to be able to, like, be the captain of their own ship. Like, nobody can, like, be their boss, especially with the Leo rising. Like, he wants to be doing the firing. He wants to be in control. I even feel like this is affecting his health. He has several Chiron transits happening in his chart right now. And, you know, it's also, he has a lot of Uranus transits. So he has like Uranus square Mars, which can be like nervous issues or like nerve issues or even just like anxiety in general. I feel like on election day, he's going to feel rather confident. He does have Jupiter conjunct the sun that day, which is a really positive transit. And that is a transit of like growth and expansion. But he also has like Jupiter opposing the moon and Jupiter conjunct the North Node. So it's like everybody is supporting him that is on his side and loving him. But he's having some rather challenging emotions, especially with that Jupiter opposing the moon. So with Venus opposing the sun, it's kind of like a lack of discipline. So, and then he also has Uranus squaring Mars. So this can indicate changes to the career. It's also very erratic. So it can be the vibe of not getting what you want. So I feel like there's like a peak where he feels really like yeah, but then that Uranus square Mars, that's ouchy. That's a hard transit because that's like it's not looking good. It's not looking good. He has Uranus conjunct the MC, so he is kind of clinging in this way of like I'm going to be forced and I'm going to be stubborn and I'm going to hold tight.